They called it Eisenregen, Iron Rain. A sound so distinct, German infantrymen wrote it down in their diaries. It began with a distant rumble, a low vibration under the boots. Then a whistle, sharp enough to freeze the blood. And finally, the impact. A blast so violent it tore apart trenches, shattered nerves, and erased entire platoons in seconds. For many German soldiers on the Western Front, American artillery became the single most feared element of the U.S. Army. More than air strikes. More than tanks. More than close-quarters infantry combat. This is the story of why. When the United States entered World War II in 1941, Germany did not expect the Americans to excel in artillery. The Wehrmacht had spent years developing some of the most advanced European gun systems, and German officers believed no other nation could match their discipline or precision. They were wrong. By late 1943, frontline German units began reporting something unusual in their contact logs. American artillery was firing faster, more accurately, and in far greater volume than what German soldiers were accustomed to. In a captured field report from the 352nd Infantry Division, written shortly after the Normandy landings, one German officer wrote, "The Americans fire without pause. Their shells fall with an accuracy that suggests they can see us through the earth." This was not an exaggeration. By mid-war, U.S. forces had developed one of the most efficient artillery systems in the world, a combination of training, technology, and logistics that outpaced anything the German army had prepared for. American artillery relied on a mixture of weapons, each with its own role in breaking enemy lines and suppressing infantry. The 105 mm M2A1 howitzer. Introduced in November 1942, the 105 mm howitzer became the backbone of U.S. field artillery. It fired a 15-kilogram shell out to 11 kilometers and was light enough to be moved quickly by truck. To German troops, it became known for its constant, rhythmical barrages, a technique American units practiced relentlessly. Captured German statements often note the same detail. They fire every 15 minutes. Always the same. Never stopping. This regularity was not random. U.S. artillery units used a doctrine of persistent harassment fire, designed to break morale even when no major attack was underway. The 155 mm M1 Long Tom. Introduced in December 1941, the 155 mm Long Tom became the symbol of American firepower. Its shells could reach nearly 23 kilometers, far beyond what most German infantry batteries could counter. Once a German position was spotted by American observers or reconnaissance aircraft, the Long Tom could obliterate it from outside the enemy's effective range. A German artillery captain described the Long Tom in a 1944 report. "We saw the flash 10 miles away. After that, silence. We only heard the whistle overhead, and then the ground erupted." To many, it felt supernatural, a gun firing from beyond the horizon, hitting with terrifying accuracy. The M7 Priest self-propelled gun. The U.S. Army also fielded motorized artillery faster than any other Allied force. The M7 Priest, a 105 mm howitzer mounted on a tracked chassis, allowed American units to reposition their guns in minutes instead of hours. German soldiers quickly learned a bitter truth. Once they located a battery and prepared to fire counter-artillery, the Americans had already moved. Weapons alone don't win artillery duels. What terrified the Germans was the system behind the guns. 1. Unmatched motorization. The United States was the most motorized army in the world. Every artillery unit had plentiful trucks, spare parts, fuel, and trained mechanics. A German forward observer in the Hürtgen forest complained, "They are always moving. You shell the place where they were, but they are no longer there." The Wehrmacht, in contrast, relied heavily on horses even in 1944. 2. Superior communications. American units used radio-equipped forward observers, wire telephone networks, armored observation vehicles, and most importantly, spotter aircraft. Small planes like the Piper L for Grasshopper circled above battlefields, directing artillery fire with astonishing precision. German infantrymen dreaded the sight. When their little plane appears, we know the fire will begin within minutes. 3. Fire Direction Centers. The U.S. invented a revolutionary battlefield innovation. The Fire Direction Center, or FDC. This system allowed faster calculations, coordinated fire from multiple batteries, and instant shifts in target priority. German units noted that American salvos often arrived all at once, instead of scattered over several minutes, a sign of centralized coordination. Artillery was always feared in war, but German soldiers described American fire differently. It was relentless, mathematically precise, and emotionally exhausting. In the words of one German sergeant captured in early 1945, "Against their artillery, you cannot be brave. You simply hope the next shell is not for you." Even elite units, including the 1st Fallschirmjäger Division, reported a drop in morale whenever American batteries were in range. During the June 1944 landings, German defenders expected tank assaults and airstrikes. But what shocked them most was the speed with which American artillery established fire control. Within hours of securing the beaches, U.S. forces had 105 mm howitzers firing inland, spotters calling in real-time corrections, and long toms bombarding German strongpoints far beyond the front line. A German officer of the 352nd Division wrote, "Wherever we placed a machine gun, it was destroyed within minutes." This pattern repeated across France. The Hurtgen Forest became one of the bloodiest American battles of the war. But even here, amid brutal terrain and limited visibility, U.S. artillery proved decisive. German troops described the American barrages as constant, disorienting, and impossible to predict. U.S. observers used sound-ranging equipment, aerial reconnaissance, and pre-registered fire zones to turn the forest into a killing ground. One German account simply called it a place where shells grow from the trees. In December 1944, the German army launched its last major offensive. They hoped winter weather would ground American aircraft, and it did. But American artillery remained a nightmare. During the opening days of the Battle of the Bulge, U.S. batteries fired more than 1.2 million rounds. To the German attackers, this meant advancing into a storm of steel. A report from the German 7th Army stated, "Every road, every crossroads, every position was immediately struck by American guns." When the weather cleared and American spotter aircraft returned, the effect became devastating. In the end, German soldiers feared American artillery because it combined fast deployment, high mobility, superior communication, spotter aircraft, enormous ammunition supplies, and precise fire coordination. It was not one weapon. It was not one tactic. It was an entire machine, industrial, mechanical, and relentless, designed to crush resistance before infantry or tanks even arrived. By 1945, the Wehrmacht understood a painful truth. The United States had built the most effective artillery system of the entire Second World War. And for the German soldiers who lived under it, nothing was more terrifying than the sound of the approaching shell.